Hello, I've been to the Dragonmeet show today and I picked up a few things which I'm just going to do a quick walkthrough in terms of my haul of bits and pieces, role-playing games and what have you. Plus I've got a kind of a slideshow that I'll go through and I'll talk over where I've taken lots of photos around the show and seen some interesting things. Not everything I know full details on, I've just got sort of photos of some books that I don't know the full information, but at least it'll be something to go through and you can see there might be something you know if you're into role playing or gaming of any kind. So I can whiz through, talk through what I've got. I'll start with the slideshow and then we'll go from there. So desktop view, that'll do the trick. And so I went on a train, which was a mess today. We've got train strikes and other maintenance work going on. So there was bus replacement, and then we had to get on a Gatwick Express from south of London near Gatwick and head up into London. And that was standing room only as well. So it was a bit of a mess. Not very many trains running, so everybody was rammed onto one. Yeah, so that was hard work. I'll just start to walk through these so you can see what's going on. So yeah, as we came into Victoria, saw the Orient Express. I think this is something they do over Christmas. I've been on it before, and it basically heads out into Kent, and you can sort of have fine dining on these Pullman cars that take you out. They do you a nice sort of Christmas dinner. So worth giving that a try if you're ever interested. So a quick couple of snapshots from around the show here, so you can see. Just generally when I got there around about 11 o'clock, it was relatively busy and a lot of activity. I just really went around the trade areas. I'm going to go back again because it's years since I've been there, but I'm going to go back again next year and maybe book into some of the role playing or even put a role playing game on myself to host that. So probably something I'll do next time, but this time it was really a whiz round all the trade areas. Yeah, so some fantastic, I mean, overwhelmingly, because I'm used to wargaming shows and tabletop gaming shows, this one had some amazing dice. So I like them. I think you could be a bit overwhelmed by the number of dice trade stands and booths that they were there with them on, but they're fantastic things to look at. Some of them very expensive because they're all, many of them are handcrafted. There were the usual stands with those kind of Chessex, massive amounts of Chessex dice, the kind of standard plastic D6s, locking all that carbon away. But these are all sort of typically resin types, quite expensive. And you can see this crazy one here with that massive D20 there as well. That was interesting to see. Didn't get my hands on it, but I'd have liked to. I'd have liked to give it a roll if I had an opportunity. Yeah, so. Nice stuff on this stand. Free League were there, so that was great to see them with the variety of games, which I'm invested nearly in every one of their Kickstarters, from Blade Runner, they have Alien, the classic Morkborg as well. Dragonbane, that was a recent one that they've got up here as well. I do have a copy of Dragonbane too, so nice to see that stand. I didn't buy anything today, just simply because I think I had so much of their gear already, really. So yeah, just some other interesting Troika. I think this one is a Troika, kind of popular OSR retro style game, and just really nice to see all of the sort of little almost pamphlet and indie style games doing so well. So it's almost like the glory days, isn't it, for role playing? You can dive in and try some of these retro games as much as you can sort of pick the latest versions up as well. So quite a few pictures where I've gone around here. I have that Pound of Flesh. That's this sort of sci-fi with some fantastic artwork in there, as you can see highlighted there. I nearly bought this whole breach. I think I have something similar, or I have like an early version of it. I can't remember what I've got, but it's like a kind of guide to running sci-fi games in sort of hulks and spaceships. And that's a nice book. Didn't buy it. I should have gone back. It was one of those ones I thought I should go back for that one. Again, nice pamphlets on that stall at the same time. So these are guys called Buy the Same Token, and buy is spelt B-U-Y, as in buy it off us. And on this one they had this kind of little dungeon miniatures terrain, which I don't know if they sell any of the actual board as well. That's kind of really, well, it's not neon, is it? But it's sort of that real high contrast white on black. They were giving away a little tiny sort of dragonette, which I've got in my pocket, which I can show when I do the sort of show and tell of things that I've got later. But nice to see that fantastic looking layout, and also just a different way of gaming if you were interested in that kind of laser cut and printed stuff. I didn't recognise this. I just whizzed past this and I saw this and it sort of grabbed my eye, so I thought I'd have a look at it. I couldn't even pronounce it, I don't think. Ryu Ustam. I'm not sure what that is, but the artwork that you can see on the front there with that kind of manga-esque, kind of big-eyed style, the Japanese style, was throughout the book as well. It looked fantastic, so I did sort of page through it and just took a note to check it out and find out more about it later. The same, this was Leisure Games, I believe, and they had Burning Wheel. They had various other games on there, which I'm familiar with. I have all the Burning Wheel RPG stuff already. So this was a nice dice store, and in fact I did buy one from here in the end. So lots of resin handmade, and these ones with liquid cores as well. Quite expensive stuff, but just the occasional treat to pick up these things. You never have enough dice, can you? And these ones in particular, nicely handmade as well. Yeah, a little bit of a close up there on some of those fantastic dice. There's one here at the bottom. I didn't even, when I was there, I couldn't really see everything, but they had that sort of fantastic sort of pink. It's almost like it's got little creatures' eyes in there. Another sort of retro RPG style. They had some of this appendix-based books here as well, sort of retro books. I couldn't see if there was any Moorcock or anything in there, but some sort of older books and Troika bookmarks, various things. I have this Acid game over here in the back left already. I think I also have that Fungi of the Far Realms, which was just a they're quite esoteric books specific to just fungi and not really specific also to any rule set. So I think it's like not dependent on a rule set. I can't remember. I'd have to dig it out to remind myself. But still, the Troika stuff's very popular. Yeah, Alien game. Fantastic that you get nice maps in there. I can't remember. I think I've got this Alien game. I've definitely got the Blade Runner one that they produced. Free League, again, just seem to be knocking the next license out after the other, and doing some good books as well. I do like their rule system as well. Their D6 approach is great. Traveller, great to see those there. I've got so much Traveller from over the years collected, but it's nice to see it still gets a stand. It's still on sale. And there was this High Guard update 2022 there. Nice kind of leathery style, or leatherette, wasn't sure, book. Totally randomly didn't realise what this stand was, but it's something advanced, double D6 as a game. Not familiar with it at all, but it was worth taking a quick snap to remind myself to look at another time. Anything like this where they're like this, showing this undead whale and talking about different aspects of it. Just love that kind of quirky retro art, and sort of where people have invested a lot of time into sort of making something unique and independent. So I do have a copy of this, and I can never pronounce it. Hypertellurians. I bought it on the Kickstarter when that came out, but I was checking out their stand because I bought this Solemn Scriptures of the Battle Nuns. I bought a copy of that while I was there, and also was looking at this Eternal Grind, which was a role-playing game based on being sort of baristas in a coffee shop and gaining tokens as you serve these demons and devils and have challenges around that. As I understand, they had a preview copy which you could buy at the show, and then they'd send you for free the final copy when that was produced in the new year. It's a one-shot type game, so there's in terms of scope, being a barista and gaining credits and scores for serving good coffee, it has a sort of limited scope. That's why it's a sort of fun one shot to play. So yes, move on to the next one. Yeah, just another shot of that, and that's the one I got, the solemn scriptures of the battle nuns of the merciful sepulchre. Yeah. And what's up next? So another, I think this one was called sort of CBT Croc Battle Tournament. That was one there. So some interesting, almost like psychedelic style, again RPG books. I didn't look enough at that. It's one I'm going to have to check out. And there they are talking about their product. So here there be monsters and a few other interesting bits and pieces there. Didn't get to, I wanted to look at, see what this sort of card-based dungeon drop is. I'm going to have to dig into that a bit further. Dungeon Generator. That's a mouthful. Dun Generator, it looks like it's called. I did intend to pop that around and maybe get a copy of that to check out this. I like anything like this where it has that sort of random dungeon creation with rooms on there. Great for that sort of retro gaming where you maybe just sort of doing the sort of theatre of the mind gaming and you just want to throw down another room and just have a layout available to you without any planning or pre-thoughts, as almost randomly generate the dungeon as you go. I have this magical Industrial Revolution that's this kind of, I have to remind myself of it. So it's a role-playing game and quite an interesting set of rules and writing. Like it's almost like an Industrial Revolution, magical Industrial Revolution is happening while you play. So as you start out in London, as this kind of mythical London, magical devices and rooms and buildings and everything are changing over time, and you sort of play through that adventure of the technology becoming more and more advanced during the game. And yeah, it's a fantastic produced book as well. And Bastion Land was one I wanted to pick up at some point, but quite an expensive large hardback, so I didn't do that today either. Yeah, but saw these, took a quick snap. Do have that Magical Industrial Revolution already. Great book. And some miniatures. This looked like a 3D printed stand, but really high quality prints and some nice paintings, so it was worth taking a stop for that. Yeah, I think they're 3D prints, so they're really sharp, really. I liked these at the top, these sort of hound things with the sort of ridged back. Fantastic. Should have picked some up really again. I was in a bit of a rush, so took a snap for now and I'll look back later. That's a really blurry picture. Oh, so this was Rock, ROK, and they used to, and they were producing some sort of 6mm, 40k like miniatures, but they've been stopped from doing that, so they don't do that anymore. But they're still now printing these 15mm in for anything, skirmish gaming, role playing, and of course quite a cheap way of doing it with still quite a lot of detail on for that scale. So sort of great use of 15mm. And I had a friend called Jeremy, Germy. He had a 15mm dungeon skirmish that he'd produced many years ago and did some resin terrain, I think with Pendragon, which is a UK miniatures company, and they did the resin terrain for that in 15mm, and did some miniatures as well. I'm not sure who the miniatures were produced by, Brigade or possibly GZG. And yeah, great to see 15mm fantasy out in the wild again. And these ones are particularly nice because with the 3D printing now, in a way, you can build these buildings at a much lower cost, can't you? Instead of having to build these, if you imagine if you did 3D printing of these, it's relatively low cost 3D print if you've got all the gear. But still, it's a lot to paint and a lot to put together that in 15mm like this looks really sharp. Just a sort of further back look at this view, and they do sets of the houses and everything, so you can sort of buy one set and be ready to go, pre-printed. And those miniatures look nice too. And this is their dungeon, again 15mm, showing a variety of different forces and rats and spiders and things here. And I like the sort of oversized doors. They look sort of chunky and interesting on there. And again, simple way of putting the rooms together. There's not really, I couldn't really see a way to sort of relate squares, but I guess you could call a reasonable area like this a single square if you were interested in playing it square by square. Again, small scale means that you can fit a lot in there, and because of the 3D printing now, you could just snap up STLs of anything like these barrels and bits and pieces and scale them down to 15 mil. In fact, they print and look really fine as well. I don't know if these are specifically designed for 15 mil or if that's just an STL that was designed to print at 28, 30 or 30 odd mil and they've just scaled it down possibly. Zoom in, nice kind of ratkin there, Minotaur. Wizard looks great, very dynamic again. Again, in the old days, when you had 15 mil sculpted miniatures, you were losing so much detail because people weren't, they couldn't put the detail into a hand sculpted green stuff sculpted miniature of 15 mil. You lost the dynamic look. But these, when you scale down the 28 mil or 30 mil model to 15, you're maintaining a lot of the detail. Mind you, these might be specifically for 15, and I say that because if you scale down many of the sort of 28 or 32 mil scale fantasy type models in STLs to be at the 1/100th scale of 15 mil, I've had that done before. I asked someone to do that for me and scaled it down, and the miniature was fragile, it was too small, and the legs were prone to crack, and the arms and things. So actually these look like they're chunky enough that 15 mil, so they're still full of character, but without being as fragile as if you just scaled down something that was built for a larger scale. I didn't get to have that conversation with them, but I'm just making a lot of broad assumptions on my knowledge and experience of seeing scaled down 28 mil stuff. This looks like it's still characterful and chunky without having limbs that are too fine to structurally stay in one piece. For hot wire foam cutters, they're a series of MDF pieces so that you can put your foam in and then very quickly use the wire cutter through the variety of holes. So they've got one for making these tiled roofs, and they also had one for cutting out columns. You can see that's column there, and then you can see the results of that. These columns on here look fantastic, the ones that are painted from that foam core. And there was another set, I think of this one here, that allowed you to do the arched doorway at the back there. So relatively cheap. Obviously you need a hot foam cutter, which I happen to have a prox on one of those, so fantastic. I think these taller MDF structures at the back, they're what you make the little bricks from. So you can stick a chunk of foam in there and then quickly kind of cheese grate it down with a hot wire cutter into smaller bricks as well. So yeah, that's nice nice stuff on the rock stand. ROC, rock minis. Not ROC, ROK. ROK minis. And this was in one of the other trade halls there. More 3D printed stuff. So much good 3D printed stuff out there. And if you wanted to buy it, you're getting things relatively cheap. I liked this church organ and stall, which reminded me of the adventure, the Strahd, Curse of Strahd adventure from the D&D setting. Which I thought that would be a fantastic sort of model to have in a game. And things that look like your classic sort of space orcs. So moving on, just a close-up of that. And yeah, nice detail on these kind of church pew things too for a terrain. Just more interesting terrain. I mean, pause it if you like those miniatures at all. And that's another set of the whole thing. Some unusual stuff there. Giant carnivorous plant. I mean, if you're into 3D STLs, you'll probably recognise some of those because a lot of these sort of become available across various different brands. Loke battle mats. Now I have quite a few of these. I went through a phase of about 4 or 5 of these bigger books that I bought of theirs. Fantastic for quick maps. I mean, you could use them for skirmish wargaming as much as you use them for dungeon style crawling as well. but they actually have this, not too visible in the photo there, but they have these sort of ring binder style books that mean they fold completely flat, and you can sort of butt a few of them up against each other to make a larger terrain area. Yeah, so really good stuff, Loke, and had a massive store. Plus, their products are kind of expanding out. They're doing dungeon doors and other bits and pieces just to sort of add more of a 3D element to the, not just having the flat board. You'd be able to add on the doors as well. This was one of those ones I thought, oh, that looks like a little library in a corner over there, but I had no idea. I haven't actually ever heard of any of these games. Die RPG, Heart, and don't know about those at all. If someone does know about those, put a comment in the comments. But it's something I just again took a snap. I thought I've never heard of them before. Need to have a look. Now I've been playing a lot of the one-page rules science fiction, and I thought, are these anything to do with? And I don't think they are. These are just called one-page games, and they have a few sort of interesting RPG books there. And that's that Heart one again on that same stand. Some dice. This one here, Rune Fable, the name of the company, and fantastic looking. Really were sharp dice, and these were expensive. These like I think they're like 80 quid or something, 90 quid for a set, but very unique, super sharp resin dice, really nice. Close up there, just how fantastic some of these resin dice with the various different cores that they cast into the resin. I had to get a quick look at these. I didn't buy them, but they come with they're basically, again, I think you can use them for OSR. You could use them for any role-playing style game where you wanted to sort of randomly create a series of hex squares representing the adventure. So there's one for the Undying Sands, is the one with the desert, and then Bottled Sea is the ones which you have the sort of 30 quid a piece as well. So I didn't get one, but I was tempted. And it comes with like a GM screen at the same time as the cards that you put in a little sack that comes with the sack as well. So you draw out one of those individual tiles, and then there's rules in the kind of GM DM screen that's provided on how you place them down and what's there and what kind of things are happening on those as you sort of generate your hex map. So a good aid for even modern 5e you could use it with, but obviously it's been sold sort of alongside the OSR old school style gaming as well. I took a couple of pictures there. This was on the Black Hack stand. I've got copies of Black Hat. I've supported them over the years. In fact, there's a character mug on there which I bought, which I can show you because I bought this character mug while I was on the stand as well. And more of the Black Hat stuff here, really. The very nice mugs. I had one of these mugs already, which was kind of the retro dungeon mug, and I just got the one with the race class, the kind of BX style character sheet on there as well. I had Warlock there too. I do have the main Warlock RPG book, but I haven't really dived into any of the others. And more sort of Black Hat box set stuff there, nice sort of collector's item. I supported this on a Kickstarter. Colossal, is it? Or Colossal? Nice, very nice artwork throughout. Again, this kind of slightly manga-esque style to it. Nice little game, and there's now been an extra adventure module. I think it's this one at the Runelands. I haven't looked into that enough. Didn't get around to ever playing the original, but do want to give that a go. I've got one friend who also bought the main book. Just some nice artwork there on the square hex stand. Sort of again, more square hex material here for you as well. In terms, you could buy some of these hex pads and things, and some just nice artwork in poster form that you could get. More artwork. Just took a quick snap off. This interested me. I didn't realise that Pathfinder, the RPG which I play, has a Savage Worlds version. I think I may have picked it up half-heartedly, seen a link once online, but I didn't realise how much they've done now. They've done the whole lot, essentially, and loads of card materials. These things called bennies, which are just essentially these sort of pennies or bennies that you use in the game as well for player abilities and things. card decks supporting it as well. I imagine this £165 box set there, which is quite expensive, probably has most of the core books in and some cards or something. So it's like a bundle of a few things. But I really like Savage Worlds. There was a skirmish version of the game, and I have to say now, I asked the guy on the stand, are they going to support the skirmish version again? Because for me, I did some sci-fi games and bits and pieces with that before I developed Grunts. I used this, and I like the card mechanism in there, which inspired me to use playing cards in Grunts as well. So would have loved to pick this up. I just resisted. 40 quid for the core rules. I could see myself suddenly diving in deep on all the others, needing all the other books, because it's kind of a very interesting contrasting situation, because Pathfinder's seen as this hyper complex, it's blamed as being like Mathfinder, as very detailed. I actually enjoy it, and I think for the most part, while you're playing, it's relatively simple to play, and there isn't a lot of technicalities, but you just end up getting blocked and some complex rules in there that come up occasionally. But this would give you all the feel of Pathfinder, all of the characters and the setting, but in a much simpler package with Savage Worlds at its core. Yeah, so they do Savage Deadlands as well. I mean, Savage has been around for a few years now. Great rule set if you're ever interested. And there's actually a generic Savage Worlds book as well, which covers all sorts of settings. So you can actually, it goes from modern to fantasy in one book. These fantastic dice trays. I've had one of these for years, and I've had one of their boxes as well. But I picked up a small one while I was here, not one of the expensive sort of £60 larger sets. It's kind of they've clearly decided they need to tackle a kind of a lower cost entry market as well, because these have always been around the sort of £50+ for a dice tray. Very nice woods. They use natural woods, and then obviously laser them and then glue them together in these configurations that are very pleasing to the eye and have a really nice sharp sound as well, because I know I've used MDF dice towers and they don't have as crisp a sound for bouncing those dice as they go down the wood slats in there. Always wanted this model, but £120. I play Fallout Wasteland. I've got models for it, and that were quite expensive on their own. As you can see, a set of 3 models there for 30 quid. I don't know how much is going to the licensing for 3 models, but they are really crisply made and really well produced models. And I've always wanted Liberty Prime, so I just sort of had to get a photo. Shame they didn't have one out painted. I have seen it at a show out painted. In fact, quite often I seem to remember before, when I was interested, I was really keen on the game, I was going to get this, and it wasn't available on the online store. So I'm wondering now whether this was like a lost one, which I should have got, like the last thing in the stock room. They thought, take that along. I know we're never going to produce it again. I didn't ask, but I do want one. But I'm not going to get it for now. Too expensive. But it's a resin kit basically, but just such a fantastic miniature, really tall. Who knows how tall it is? It's probably like 12 inches, maybe 12 inches tall. Another quick snap of some games on the Lamentations of the Flame Princess. These are the kind of ultra violent, ultra adult themed RPGs. I'm surprised by how many are sort of out in that setting now. It just seems to be that people produce something that they want to have that sort of feel. It's a kind of a D&D. I think it's inspired from 3X D&D. I'm not 100% sure. So that's that. A couple of tin cans on there as well. And Gangs of Titan City. I don't know what it's like at all, but I think these are just alternate covers to the same book. But it was intriguing. It was like, okay, so they've got a game. I imagine it's OSR-ish style. I didn't look into it in detail, but clearly built around a bit of gang warfare, where that some people are quite happy to sort of do some terrain. So kind of possible crossover there, that you could do a miniature skirmish game whilst also doing a bit of role playing with the main book. So just another snap here. I recognise some of these as Games Workshop models, I think. Neoclassical Greek or geek revival. I did get a copy of this a few years ago, and I think this is like a second edition hardback, which was very nice. These nice little Dungeon Crawl Classics bits and pieces here that I looked through as well. Yeah, this stand had quite a few DCC products on, but I've got so many Dungeon Crawl Classics books I just couldn't face buying anymore. I've got too many that I haven't used that I want to use, and just don't have gamers that are interested enough in it to want to use it. Yeah, it's showing off the Troika pin badges and t-shirts that they had there. I heard the chap say that all of this stuff for Troika was going up online after the show. Sorry, whizzed past that. Another sort of picture of some of the Troika materials. The classic old school essentials on there, and other bits and pieces. I followed this artist here who does these sort of goblins and stuff. Bought various card packs and decks of things from them in the past. They did a deck box of adventure swords and materials and things like that, which was really nicely drawn in that kind of simplistic sort of style, kind of almost like Adventure Time style. And of course the classic book that everybody wants, the old school essentials, classic fantasy and advanced fantasy, and the box set there as well. Other bits and pieces, just a nice picture. Gig economy, I got that. It's a little, I think it was a Kickstarter that came through. It's just like I think it had, I'm trying to remember from memory, but I've got it on a shelf somewhere. But it had some sort of job, it's like jobs in there for old school essential style adventurers. So if I remember rightly, you could pick a job and then it would show you how much you get paid for it. So you could add a bit of colour to your game to represent jobs of different weird varieties in there for your players. This was by the same token again, the BUY, by the same token. Play on words. And they just do such fantastic full colour tokens. Many of them are double-sided as well. I'd love to know how the kind of machines, it must cost a fortune, the machines that can laser cut super sharp plus put the paint on there at the same time, because these aren't painted in, these are some kind of laser painting that goes on when the actual thing is printed at the same time. So really nice detail. These they had were expensive. I didn't get one, but D&D spell trackers, and in each side here you could see the different levels of the different spells and then how many spells you had remaining at that level. Really handy little device, really. And if you're into, I don't know if the spell, it probably work for every version of D&D. So you can just, because at each level you've got a certain number of spells. Obviously, if you're playing an OSR game, you're going to have to take a long time to slowly level up before you get some of the higher level spells there. You can just whiz around, and once you've cast it, you just sort of unspin one of the sections and it shows you the reduction in spells. Frosthaven, along the lines of Gloomhaven, and these were the Frosthaven version of spells and abilities that could be cast on players. And the little notch out of the top, which I asked them about, I said, why is there a notch out of these? This is because it would then fit on the cardstock of the characters in the Frosthaven game, so they could just sort of slot them on a character. I hadn't seen them before, but nice stuff that they've got. I had to take a quick shot of this fragged. I have no idea what it is. £45, so I didn't buy it, but I really liked all the artwork, and throughout some of the art was like this as well. It looked like a nice set of rules, but obviously location guide, rules, and that's a setting guide here. What's the difference between a setting guide and a location guide? I don't know, but I had to take a snap because it looked good. Back looking here, index card, RPG, and just some more of the Fallout bits and pieces here, Fallout GM screen. Interesting note on Fallout is that the Fallout Wasteland game, which is the skirmish game which I play, and I have the RPG book as well, but they are very similar. The rules are almost the same for the use of weapons and things in the RPG as they are in the skirmish. Obviously the skirmish is a bit tighter in terms of you form units up that are fighting each other, but the actual rules cross over quite closely, same dice structure and everything, and it's a good system. Yeah, so I had to get a shot of this fantastic Modiphius stand, and I enjoy playing Fallout Wasteland. It's a good set of rules and quite detailed. Like, you see all the rulers down here. Each ruler represents a range of different weapons. So like a shotgun might have a really short, or sawn-off shotgun would have a really short range, and then the other weapons have longer ranges, and they, in the box, provide the rulers for it. So there's no need to use tape measures when you're firing a weapon. But some of the weapons do say that they are like, one orange bar. I seem to remember one orange and one blue. So you kind of put two bars together to make a really long range rifle, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I like it as a rule system. And just took a close up down there on some of the terrain. This looked like card terrain. That's just been neatly put onto a base, but it's like made of card. And this was the Elder Scrolls game. I only took a couple of quick shots of that. Same rules and mechanisms as in Fallout Wasteland. So same D20 dice that you need to roll low, and the same sort of cards for the weapons and things that show the damage based on different dice types that you use. So yeah, really like the look of that. Nearly bought the starter box, which is actually miniatures agnostic, so you could use any miniatures with it, but they do have some really nice plastic models that go with it in the starter box set. So you can actually buy a big box set which has miniatures and all the rules in there as well. I was tempted by that. That was over £100, but the Call to Arms box was enough to get you started. If you had skeletons and warriors with Viking style shields or something already, you could use them without having to invest in the full miniature set. There it is. £110 was the starter with all of the models in there. I think you get something around in the order of 20 models in that set. And now on the way back, back on the station then, and yeah, a bit of a struggle getting back with more bus transfers and things because the railway lines weren't working today. Either maintenance, but there's also industrial action in the UK that started this weekend, so that's going to be building up. Yeah, so I'm back to the start again. What I'll do is I'll clip over now and just unpack the bits and pieces, my haul that I picked up, which is kind of small haul, but I'll show you what I've got there anyway. And just need to hit that button to get the zoom down to the desk. So, right. Oh, first off, crunch, crunch. This was on that, by the same token, the little miniature 2D, by the same token, dungeon gear, and they just gave this away for free. It was just a tiny little dragon thing. And yeah, obviously you could use a bit of glue, but that sort of push fit in there as well. And what I can do is zoom in on that just a tad. There it goes. You can see how small that is. But obviously they were giving it away as a freebie. But yeah, both sides are printed, and if you wanted to go relatively cheap, you could do a whole RPG skirmish or whatever you like with that. Actually, there's a 10% off there. Don't tell me you saw it here if you scan that. And that's the company, by the same token. And what I also got from them was another couple of bits and pieces, which I can show you. This, I just saw this and I wanted to use it as a tracker. It's for a tabletop card game, Blood Wars or something I'm not 100% familiar with, but I'll be using it for rounds or other sort of damage tracking in games that I've got, either RPGs or a skirmish game where I just want to go, right, round 1, round 2, and track that. But they've designed it so you can rip this heart out of this magnetic section in there. So just fantastically made. Actually, I haven't taken the... this is a lot of the stuff from By the Same Token arrives like this. It's got a kind of a clear sheet. And then I always say to myself, how did they paint... How do they get that paint in there when it's still got the protective sheeting on? Don't know how that works out, but There you go. And that just sits into there like a heart that's being rent out. Apparently something to do with the game allows you a section of the game where you will rip a heart out. So that's how they designed it like that. And I can get myself back up on there as well. There you go. So that's from them. And then other bits and pieces. I said that I got the mug from... Go that away. Yeah, so this is a new mug that's from the Black Hat Square Hex people, and just happens to show all your sort of D&D early character statistics on there. And I saw that and I thought, okay. And in fact, I recently smashed one of my own mugs at home, so I thought I'd pick that up while I was there. And yeah, so nice little mug for, especially when I'm gaming. And then this was the, going to make a lot of noise now. This was the harpsichord people that do the dice trays. And Harps Corp. There you go, Harps Corp. New adventure through your door every month. So in fact, like these tiny laser cut things from Buy the Same Token, Harps Corp also do like a box set of laser cut miniatures, and you can only see a very tiny image there of them, but they do those in a box set, sort of skeletons and monsters and things. Again, low cost way if you don't want to have a huge number of fully painted models for a game and you just wanted some token style models to use for D&D, you can do that. So I don't know what that is. They're actually doing some kind of mail quest adventures that they're sending out where you get dice, a pin, anyway, promotion for them. And that was just a thank you from them for buying. So this is what I got. It's a dice rolling gear, but you can keep dice inside it, and also it does have a kind of felt base in there too. It's your classic mini dice tower at the same time. And that's where I can show off. Well, actually, just to say, first of all, they gave away a nice bar of chocolate at the same time, which I've eaten some of already. Honeycomb chocolate that came with this. So nice of them to give that away at the show. So they had quite a few little promotional type things like that going on. Yeah, I just got 2 little packs of dice while I was there. And this one in particular, if I can get it out, had a sort of a interior of a liquid interior. So just give it a try in the dice tray. Yes. Anyway, I thought, I'll treasure this, and I thought, why not buy something that's a real memory of the show? And it has really clear numerals on there for people of an older age like myself. So, and that's kind of a neat small dice tower, great for a couple of dice. There's the Solon scripture of the Battle Nuns. Yeah, so these are just some other little pamphlet style Morkborg sort of horror driven RPG adventure book by JVCP, and there's another one there, Snow on Snow 2, art by Dead People. So yeah, again, little kind of retro for with that kind of horror feel, retro RPG style there. So I picked those 2 up. What were these? Some other bits and pieces. A tiny, minuscule. I think that came back from the printers a bit too small. Dark Elves, a one-shot murder mystery adventure on 1 piece of paper, and that was on the Motocross Machinations stand, giving those out. And this Bewildering Panic of the 40 Tours in the Land of 40 Tours, like another little simple pamphlet style location adventure on that same Motocross Machinations site. So those were all great. Oh, in other news, just recently I got a copy of You Die in a Dungeon that came through the post. again, nice little retro style RPG with some retro style artwork in there. And an interesting rule set, really, in terms of how the rooms are handled and the exploration is handled as well. Won't dive into that, but I may well do a review on that when I get round to it. It came with a nice poster format in there as well, which, yeah, an interesting video format for me, showing you mostly photos and chatting through it, but hopefully you saw some interesting things in there. Dragonmeet 2023 looked like a success for me. So I was really there just for the trade stands, but next time I go, I'll be booking myself into some adventures. It was just a last minute in the last week or so. I thought, let's go. In fact, I wouldn't have gone if I'd known that the trains were going to be wrecked and I'd be on buses for some of the journey, but it was still worth getting up there for what we did see. So it was good fun. Thanks for listening in.